We invoke Bhagavan Shri Krishna first and foremost as Satchidananda Rupaya, of the nature of Sat, Chit and Ananda. Because Krishna is not just the form that we hear of these stories of the blue boy of Vrindavan with curly hair and a peacock feather. He represents the formless. And in fact, here in Canto 3, Shukdev Maharaj, when talking to King Parikshit, says, myself, I am an Advaitin, yet I cannot help but revel in the form of Krishna. And so, understanding formless, but still enjoying the beauty of form. But first and foremost, he is invoked as Satchidananda Rupaya, Vishnutpatyata Hetave, the one who has created this entire universe, or universes upon universes upon universes upon universes, and that's the essence of this third canto of the Bhagavatam, creation. Tapatraya Vinashaya, the one who destroys our suffering. Tapa is heat, the one that cools us when sorrow and anger and hell and all those things are associated with heat. Tapatraya Vinashaya. He is one that dissolves. And often Guruji will say, we don't want to solve problems, we want to dissolve. And it's such a nice way to keep thinking of things. Because you solve it and then another one comes and then solve it and another one comes and then just dissolve. Because eventually it's here we have to dissolve ourselves into him and then there's no more problem. And we start off saying, you Bhagwan dissolve my problems, and then eventually we realize we are the problem. Okay Bhagwan, then you dissolve me only. That Krishna into which we all dissolve, because from which we all came. Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. To that Krishna we surrender. To that Krishna we salute. We bow down. We offer our salutations. And so how does creation happen? There's actually numerous theories of creation given here in the Bhagavatam. Yeah. If we could please settle down. Creation can happen in a very long, drawn-out process. First there was space, and then came air, and then came fire, and then came water, and then came earth, and then they all mixed together. And it can be very, very drawn out. Or creation, ta-da, creation. In just 1 second, universes and universes and universes, and galaxies and galaxies and galaxies, and people and people and people, and all of it in just a blink of an eye. And that's really how creation takes place. Right. And we only do that long, drawn-out process of creation because we can't believe it can happen so fast. But if you wake up in a startle, how quickly does the world exist? And then, if you're really tired and you've snoozed, and then you're like, huh? And then slowly, the eyes don't open. First the nose opens because somebody put coffee underneath you. Then only the eyes open, and then, oh, where am I? Oh, yeah. What day is it today? Finally, everything clicks into place and creation took place. Yeah. Creation can be so fast, or it can take a while for me to orientate what it is exactly creation is. But it doesn't take a while, it's just that my mind is working slow, because actually it happens like this. And what's more in Bhagwan's creation is that it's not linear. Linear means beginning, middle, end. Yeah. Usually we think of creation as linear because we go to the movie has beginning, middle, end. Or we start a project has beginning, middle, end. And then, our lives also beginning, middle, end. And so we think things are linear, but Bhagwan's creation is not linear. So some creations have started and then new creations start halfway through. And then parallelly they exist at different periods of time. So all these incredible movies of multiverses that you are seeing now, and I'm not just simply saying this, they got the idea from our Puranas. They actually come and research our Puranas because the stories here are so mind-blowing. Multiverses are given in Canto 3 of Bhagavatam, which was given eons and eons and eons ago. Krishna was alive more than 5,000 years ago. He left Bhagavatam, but Bhagavatam even existed before. So how long ago? And it's all already here, that universes upon universes. And so, why am I saying this? Because one universe already existed. In this universe, there was Diti, Aditi, and Diti, married to sage Kashyapa. Doesn't matter if you don't know who they are and you don't remember the names by the time you leave. Just for this 5 minutes, you'll remember. Diti and Aditi were married to Kashyapa. And Diti means one who breaks things. And so from her were born all the asuras. Aditi is one who doesn't break things. And so from her is born all the devatas. And they were both married to Kashyapa. So all the asuras had the same father as all the devatas because all of them exist in us. Then everything has one source, and then we decide which one we want to choose. So Diti one day, overwhelmed with lust. And so she goes to Rishi Kashyapa, and so descriptive. Bhagavatam is not shy at all. She pulls off his upper cloth. And Kashyap looks at her and says, "What are you doing?" And then very sweet husband he is. He says, "I will fulfill you later, but not now. It's not the right time. I have just sat to do my puja and it's Sandhya time. And all the devatas are roaming in the sky right now. It's very inappropriate time to do it. But I will definitely fulfill you. My husband's duty, and we will do it later. And so you please wait." And actually, usually she would. But that day somehow, all these urges, whether it's a physical urge of lust or whether it's anger, and then they just come in such a tidal wave. And they take over. But this line that I found that was really nice, that was written here, is that it's as though when lust enters from one door, shame and fear exit from the other door. Such a cool description, huh? And this is why people read the Bhagavatam, because you don't need to read the story doesn't matter. You can just focus on this line. Lust enters from one door, and imagine like two people who don't talk to each other, and then the other one just goes away. Yeah? Shame and fear. When lust is in the mind, fear disappears, but it's only temporarily because lust can't stay. So then lust will disappear, and then fear is back in full force. And so is shame. Yeah. And if you think of any emotion like this, you can think when anger enters, kindness, compassion, gone. Exits. Patient exits. Yeah. And whichever one it is, whether it's lust or it's anger or it's jealousy, when the minute they enter our mind, all sense of reason gone. Yeah. And so, Diti was filled with this incredible sense of longing to be with Kashyapa. And now he's a great, great rishi. And so he closes his eyes and he thinks, Why? Why is she not listening to reason? The Lord must have some will here. And so he bows down to Bhagwan and he bows down to all the devatas and says, forgive me. And he says, okay. And he fulfills her desire. And like I said, once lust leaves, shame and fear come back. And so the minute she has now recovered from that bout, she says, please, nothing bad should happen to the babies I have conceived. Because she knows it was wrong time. And he had also said no, and then she wasn't listening. And now the reasoning of everything he said makes perfect sense, but it didn't make perfect sense in that moment. And Kashyapa Rishi, because he was a rishi and so incredibly detached and knew that if it's Bhagwan's will, it has to happen, says, well, they're going to be the most horriblest asuras that ever existed for all of time. But nothing bad will happen to them because only Bhagwan will come and be able to kill them. And then so she's holding her breath. And then when he says this, she says, oh. Why? Because her kids will be fine? No. Her reply is, if Bhagwan is the one to kill them, then all's well. Because now that lust has exited, her devotion is still there in her heart. And her thoughts are still, if it's Bhagwan, if Bhagwan kills anyone, they are saved. And then she even says, yeah, but if a Brahmana cursed them and that's how they die, then their lives are ruined for many lives to come. So, but if Bhagwan is killing them, then that's fine. Then they're going to go back up to Vaikunt. And so, from her is born Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Yeah. And Hiranyaksha had this nature of, one, he loved gold. Anything shiny, he snatches. Oh, what would Hong Kong do? It would disappear. He'd snatch it all. And where is gold found? In the earth. And so he wanted the earth and all the gold in the earth. So he took it and hid it under the ocean. He also took the Vedas and hid the Vedas. And then he wanted somebody to fight with him because he liked to fight. And people have different hobbies. And so he would challenge, will you fight with me? And then he wanted to have a really, really good fight. We still do that today. So many people, wrestlers and karate competitions, and they want a good fight. Wait, that's what he wanted. He wanted a good fight. Vasana, he was supposed to be a horrible asura, so of course he's going to love fighting. So he already existed, and he already hid the earth. And then Manu and Shatarupa were created by Brahmaji at the beginning of creation. But how can the earth have been hidden? Because it's the beginning of creation. Because it was another creation. Many creations exist at the same point in time. And this is not so baffling to think of because time is Bhagwan playing. Like how you play musical instruments. Bhagwan plays with time. He can stretch, he can collapse it. There's this incredible story of Bhagwan Ramana Rishi, who was one of the greatest saints of all of India. He had left his home when he was 8 years old. Some of you may have known Ramana Rishi's glories. And he lived such an incredibly austere life. And towards the tail end of his life, his mother comes to his ashram to be with him. And something happens to her. I can't remember. She got really sick or she got injured. I'm not sure which one. But she was going to die. And Bhagwan keeps her on his lap. And he fast forwards 80 lifetimes within less than half an hour. Just fast forwards. And she gets moksha. He just fast forwards all her lifetimes. And you're thinking, me, I want that. have a son like Bhagwan Ramana Rishi, and then hope he's compassionate enough to do it for you. What tapas she must have done to have a son like Ramana Rishi, who left at the age of 8, left. She didn't even know where he was until he became so famous and his pictures were everywhere. Time is just playing. And so creation here. And why is Bhagavatam even talking about that? Number one, for us to know the vast extent of Bhagwan's glories and powers, and how we so little small in all that grand creation. And yet we think we're so important. But remember, purpose of life, how to live, how to die, to know His glories, to remember how vast His creation is, to see how, when we say infinite, even potential to create is infinite. In fact, there's this beautiful line that says, even Bhagwan doesn't know the extent of his Maya. Doesn't mean he's under Maya. Maya can never control him. Yeah. But because it's so powerful and because it's from him and because it's infinite, even he doesn't know where it's going to go. Something like if you lose control of the car, you don't know where it's going to go. Not that he's lost control. It never touches him. But just to show infinite. Infinite means infinite possibilities. And so in talking about all these creations, then it talks about cause and effect. Like, why was Hiranyaksha born this horrible asura? And then it takes us to a story in Vaikuntha. This is Balvihar's story completely. And so anybody here who has attended Balvihar already knows this story. There were 2 gods, Jay and Vijay. Shall we do the whole story this way? I start, y'all tell me the rest. Jay and Vijay were guarding Vaikuntha. Now, why would Vaikuntha need guards? Anyone can think, why would Vaikuntha need guards? From the... They don't want asuras in because Bhagwan can't look after himself. Why would Vaikuntha need guards? Exactly, Vaikuntha doesn't need guards. Yeah. They're just ornamental pieces. They're not supposed to actually be doing anything. Because nobody is denied access to Vaikuntha. Even the asuras are not denied access to Vaikuntha. Remember, he'll accept curses. He accepts asuras. He doesn't throw anybody out. Nobody is denied into Vaikuntha or darshan of Bhagwan. And if we sincerely turn our heart to him, he is there for us. Even when we don't sincerely turn our heart to him, he's there for us. So of course he's going to be there for us when we sincerely turn our heart to him. So first and foremost, they should have known that they're not so important and they're not needed in Vaikuntha. But we all forget. And then we start to think we're important, which is the biggest mistake we can ever make. Because starting to think we are important will inevitably lead to pride. And so once when Lakshmi Ji was re-entering Vaikuntha, they stopped her. And they said, you can't go in. I know. How dare they? How dare they stop Lakshmi Ji from going into her own home? And of course, Lakshmi Ji was so incredibly annoyed. And the minute she gets into Vaikuntha, she looks at Bhagwan and says, fire them. And this is honestly what's written in Bhagavatam. I am not adding any masala. Bhagwan replies, if I fire them after you told me to, people will call me a hen-pecked husband. So please wait patiently until they insult some Santa Mahatma and then I'll fire them. I actually got very annoyed when I first read that. She had a legit reason. He should have listened to her. Why didn't he? Because whatever Bhagavan does, we will copy. And too often in the world, we are already incredibly biased to people we love. And cannot see objectively. And so what Bhagavan is saying is don't act in haste and don't do something just because one person said so. It's not about being henpecked, it's about whatever great people do, other people follow. And of course, we as bhaktas are going, do you know how many times people tell me, Bhagwan Shiva drank bhang? He also drank poison. That's not my reply, that's Gurudev's reply. And Gurudev would say, if you can drink poison, then you go ahead and drink bhang. Because the poison had no effect on him. You think alcohol's going to have effect on him? Like, hello. But we use anything that Bhagavan does as an excuse. Yeah. So, he says, one, give them chance, because Bhagavan's compassionate. We'll say, no, he's not. I have so much heartache in my life. How is Bhagavan compassionate? He gives chance. Jay and Vijay have, firstly, shouldn't stop anyone. They've stopped Lakshmiji. He's still giving chance. Yeah. So the Sanat Kumars come. The Sanat Kumars are these beautiful beings who didn't even want to be polluted by puberty, so they have stayed 8 years old. And if you teach children like I do, you will know that age 9, all sweetness from them has gone. Literally, their face changes at 9. You can see it in their features. Sanat Kumar stayed 8. They stayed sweet. And so pure in their devotion for Bhagavan that when they were created by Brahmaji and Brahmaji said, you know, I created you to go and progenate, they said, no, no. We want moksha, we want to sit in satsang, we don't want to even grow up. These Sanat Kumars, who are so incredibly sattvic, have come to visit Bhagavan Vishnu, and at the door, Jay and Vijay say, you can't go in. Now they too sattvic. So the anger that they go through is Bhagavan's wish. And they get angry and they say, pride has no place in heaven. If you have pride, you cannot be in heaven. And so we curse you to go down to earth and become asuras, because pride is asuric qualities. These are all statements of facts. This is not story. It sounds like a Balviyar story, but please note, pride cannot exist in heaven. If you want to be in heaven, which you can be in even right now, and if even there's an iota of pride, you cannot be in heaven. To be in heaven, we have to have zero pride. And then you'll experience heaven year. If you have pride, it's an asuric quality. Go be an asura. Nobody has to tell us. When pride comes, we become asuras. And then so much shouting that Bhagavan Vishnu comes out. And the minute Bhagavan Vishnu comes, the Sanat Kumars are so ashamed. Because they just said, pride has no place in heaven. And then they got angry. Anger has no place in heaven. It cannot be heaven if anger is there. If anger is there, it's hell. very clear in Gita that the gateway to hell is anger. The minute anger starts rising in us, hell, here, now. And then afterwards also, if we keep staying angry. So, the Sanat Kumars who are as pure and beautiful as they are, see Bhagwan and remember the very sight of Bhagwan, the very thought of Bhagwan, the very, just the form, the name, anything to do with Bhagwan already brings back complete clarity of thinking, and they realize that they too have faulted. Someone else's pride, asuric quality, brought out asuric quality in them, anger. And then we see ripple effects of this echo all through creation. Somebody's asuric quality, and how do we respond to it? Asuric quality. But in Vaikunt, where Maya is supposed to be blunt, asuric quality should be met with Devic quality. And so if somebody's pride, which is what Bhagwan's reaction was, compassion. But of course, Sanat Kumar's was doing Bhagwan's work only, because, Lakshmiji was sitting there waiting. Are they going to be dealt with or not? Do I have to take Kali Roop here? So Sanat Kumars were fulfilling Lakshmiji's will. And their curse was they would incarnate 3 times as asuras. When Bhagwan comes out, he says, and they feel ashamed that they have given the curse. They say, they apologize and ask for forgiveness. And Bhagwan says, but what you did was right. Like Santa Mahatma should never be disrespected and nobody should be denied entrance. And so, of course, what you did is absolutely right. He doesn't say, how can you come into my house and fire my stuff? No, which is effectively what happened. But Bhagwan says, what you did is correct, and it was my will only. And if a servant has faulted, then even the master has to be corrected. And so I will go down 4 times. They were cursed to come down 3 times. I will go down 4 times. Because in heaven, this shouldn't have happened at all. And then the Sanat Kumars feel really bad. That no, Bhagwan, forget we ever did this. Actual words, huh? And then he says, that's not Santa nature. What? Forget that ever happened. Santa nature is whatever happens, we accept, and then as gracefully accept the consequences. Of course, the Sanat Kumars would have known this. And all of this is Leela, for us to know it. Santa nature is, and then, because remember, that's our goal. Whatever happens, gracefully accept that it's happened. We can't undo what has already happened. And then gracefully accept the consequence of what it is that has happened. Remember King Parikshit? When he was told he was cursed, he thanks the messenger for bringing the message and says, return this message that this curse is fitting. And I was thinking that this action was so horrible, I should never have done it, and the consequence should be, and I didn't tell you all this bit, he says, the consequence should be that bad that I never make such a mistake again. He had actually thought that. I never want to make the mistake again. Let the consequence be so horrible that I'll learn the lesson and never make the mistake again. That was King Parikshit's response to being cursed. And so Santa nature to accept. and then grow, thrive. And so the Sanat Kumars, one of them, I think it was Sanatan, felt particularly bad, and so he said he would also come down. And so the 3 times they come down is Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, and Bhagwan comes down as, now we just saw Vara Avatar, and with Hiranyakashipu he'll come as Narasimha Avatar. Then they come as Ravana and Kumbhakarna, and we see the story of them in the Ramayana. And then they come as Shishupal and Vakradanda. Yeah, I never remember his name. In Krishna Avatar. And the Sanat Kumars come as Prahlad and Vibhishan. And why don't they come in Krishna Avatar? Because they thought, okay, last. They're coming back to Vaikuntha anyway, so we don't need to come in Krishna Avatar. But even though the story is so fun, and the Balvihar kids love it, the idea here is that it's linking in back into creation. And a lot of creation is cause, effect, cause, effect. And creation keeps going because we continue this cycle of cause, effect, cause. We keep doing things which become causes, and then effects keep happening, and then we keep doing things, and then effects keep happening. And so then one universe is not enough because more things are done, and then other universes have to be created because effects have to be met to be, and then your karmas need that particular environment, and so another creation has to happen for that environment so that your karmas can get finished in that. And then each, so many of us, 8 billion people on this planet, and then so many causes, and then so many effects, and then to top it all off, every thought is considered an action. And so every thought will have a consequence. And all these causes and all these thoughts and all these effects are all, Gurudev used to describe as a pimple on the dimple of the left cheek of an ant, which is Brahman. He used to also describe it as a king walking, and then the cape, and then the, when the cape has that little, what's it called? Flap. That this entire universe is just a little bit in that flap. And the king is Brahman. Or here, Vishnu Bhagwan, because it's Vishnu Puran. And so Hiranyaksha is destroyed by Vara Avatar after this long battle. And Vara Avatar was waiting for a battle, and so Bhagwan gave him battle. They fought for 100 years. Imagine Bhagwan's compassion. If that's what you want to do, that's what he'll do. It sounds like just a story. Notice in your life. If that's what you want, that's what you get. I want to marry, I want to marry, I want to marry, I want to marry. Here. I want to get, I want to get, I want to get, I want to. No, I didn't want this kid. That was Dumbikarna's story of yesterday. I want a promotion, I want a promotion, I want a promotion. Do you know how many people come and give me blessings, Swamiji, I want this promotion, I want this job, and then 3 weeks later they return and they say it's terrible. I have to work so hard now. I'm like, but you want it? Yeah, but it's too much work. 3 weeks later, 3 weeks later they come. Like, same blessings apply even now. You do with it what you want to do. Blessings don't change. What we want can accept. Every time we want something, it can change. And we don't know where it's going to take us. But when we want Him, we know where it's going to take us. And when we want Him, He's enough. If you remember yesterday, if we have him, we have everything. We don't need anything else. And so, creation. Every time, to help sustain all our desires in this cause and effect, he takes avatar. You'll see so many avatars happening to fulfill desires. Even though it's dharma samstapanarthaya, he comes to establish devotee. He doesn't come only for that. Here, yes, to establish dharma 100%, but also to fulfill the hearts of devotees. And then the last bit of Canto 3 is another avatar that he takes, which is Kapil Muni. And so here in Vada avatar, there's a lot of doing. There's this fighting for 100 years with Hiranyaksha. And then in Kapil Muni avatar, he takes Jnana avatar. He's showing the power of knowledge. So the entire Canto 3 focuses on these two aspects. We have both these two Shaktis. Right? The Shakti to be able to act and the Shakti to be able to know. And they both here in the canto because of balance. So much of the Bhagavatam is restoring balance. It's not just bhakti, it's jnana and vairagya as well. And so here too, it's the power of knowledge which then feeds jnana. Because remember, jnana had become really old. And by listening to this, even jnana becomes large. And for us to be able to see the power of it, this avatar is given or depicted in this form of a story. It's quite a fun story. Again, lots of names. Manu and Shatarupa had a daughter called Devahuti. And remember, their job was to create. And one of the mind-born sons of Brahmaji is called Kardama Rishi. He doesn't come too often in many stories, but he was very, very, very detached. And so actually he did so much tapas, only to get moksha. And then after doing all this tapas, when Bhagwan comes in front of him, he says, I don't really want it, but the boon I'm asking for is to get married. And even I'm confused why I'm asking you this. And Bhagwan replies, because it is my wish that you get married. It is not your wish. Now look how pure his heart is, because if I don't really want it, but the thought has come when Bhagwan is in front of me, I'll say, no, I don't want that, I want this. But he doesn't do that. Bhagwan's in front of him, and the thought that has come, he's true to that thought. But honest, it's not, I don't know why I'm saying it, but this is what is coming to me when you are asking the question. And so Bhagwan says, I have to take avatar, and it has to be to you, because you have all the necessary qualities. And Gurudev used to say all the time that, when people say it's Kal Yug, shouldn't Bhagwan take avatar, he used to say, who will be the parents? None of us qualify to be the Bhagwan's parents. To be Bhagwan's parents, you have to have done so much tapas. You yourself have to have cleansed yourself to be worthy of that, being an instrument to be able to produce. Right. And so Kardama Rishi was such a tapasvi, with so much vairagya, with such mumukshutvam, means the yearning for moksha, which is very different to the yearning to see Bhagwan. And actually in all of the Bhagavatam, we'll see so many devotees and they want Bhagwan. They want to have darshan. They want to ask for a boon. Whether it's asuras doing tapas for a boon, or whether it's bhaktas doing tapas so that they can get Bhagwan's devotion, to have more devotion, it's usually for a form. Only we see one of the rare stories, Kardama Rishi, he doesn't want Bhagwan's form. He wants moksha. Now in the Bhagavatam, different stages of moksha is pointed out. In Advaita Vedanta, there's only one moksha. But in Bhakti Shastra, there's different types of mokshas. And what are these different types of mokshas? Number one moksha is that you can go and stay in Vaikuntha with Bhagwan and get to look just like him. And so some bhaktas say, no, I don't want to look like Bhagwan because then I'll have 4 hands and what will I do? This is written here. This is not me. This is not me being funny. This is written here. And then the second type of liberation that you can have is you don't have to have 4 hands and look like Bhagwan. You can just stay in Vaikuntha and you can have darshan of him every day. And many people want that kind of moksha. And then third type of liberation is you get to be Bhagwan's secretary or servant. Whereas in Advaita, there's a few others. There's a list of 7. Moksha is best described by Paramahamsa Ramakrishnananda when he says, a salt doll merging into the ocean. Moksha is when our limitation dissolves into the vastness of infinity. In Advaita, that's the only type of moksha we have. Bhagwan, or truth rather, because we wouldn't use the word Bhagwan. Truth is infinite, formless, one without a second. And so Kardama Rishi wanted moksha, to merge into infinity, be one without a second. But when Bhagwan comes in front of him, he says, I want to marry. Because Bhagwan himself had to come as an avatar, and in this avatar he wanted to teach Advaita. And so Kardama Rishi is the perfect father for this avatar. And so Bhagwan tells the whole plan that Manu and Shatarupa will bring their daughter. They will say, please marry her. You should definitely say yes, and you should marry her, because devotee is the person that you have to have the children with, so that I can come as an avatar to you. And then when she is ready, she has to do this tapas, and then I will come, and then I will teach her and give her moksha and re-establish the Sankhya Vedas. And keep this knowledge alive. And so he even says, you just have to have kid, I will do the rest. And so Kardama Rishi follows plan to the key. Manu and Shatarupa come, they say yes. The marriage happens like within a week. And no fancy party, no going India for shopping. No videos and photograph sessions that, just go on and on and on. No Sangeet, nothing. The wedding happens under a tree. They are married. And after they are married, Kardama Rishi goes back to meditating. And Devahuti is amazingly supportive and devout. Every morning he does his puja, so she collects flowers, keeps it ready. She collects sticks for the havan. She keeps it all ready. He barely even looks at her. He finishes doing havan, goes off to do something else. She cleans everything. Doesn't ask, demand anything. And this goes on for years. I know, look at your face. You're thinking, poor Devahuti. And if you're thinking that, she never thought it. And that's why Bhagwan's born to her. she knew Kardama Rishi's greatness, and she thought, the more I serve, the better it is for me. If I get to be near him, and if this is what he wants, this is what he wants. Right. So she, for many years, just serves. They become old, they become frail. And then finally Kardama Rishi looks at her and says, you have served me so well, you can ask any boon you like. And then she very shyly says, it would be nice if we could live as grahasthas. So sweetly also she says it. And Kardama Rishi says, so be it. And then this part really sounds like a fantasy movie. But everything that's written in the Bhagavatam, we know is Krishna. And so these siddhis exist. That's why I said, even Hollywood, Bollywood, they take ideas from here. Using his tapasyacharya and his siddhis, he creates an aeroplane that can change shapes and that is so huge that it has rivers, mountains, parks, hotels, all 5-star. Everything is described in there. Yeah. And he looks at her and then, she's still not thrilled after seeing this. And then he understands. So they go into a lake where, using again his tapasvi, when she dips in, she comes out again young and beautiful. He dips, he comes out young and handsome. And then they spend something like 100 years enjoying grihastha life. And they have 9 daughters, and then she realizes, he's doing all this for me. He never wanted it. Actually, she knew that all along. But after all this time, she realizes, 9 daughters later, 100 years later of enjoying the plane, the aeroplane, the rivers, the mountains, the jacuzzi, the whatever, when does it end? And the minute that thought comes in her mind, when does the wanting to enjoy end? That's the thought that comes into her mind. When will this end? Me wanting things. Vairagya had been born enough in her heart that Kardama Rishi smiles. But she goes to him and she says, 9 daughters will get married, but I've wasted my life. Because married to you, I could have learned the Vedas. I could have learned the Bhagavatam. And instead, we had 9 daughters. What will happen now? Now please teach me that which will give me Bhagwan and Bhagwan alone. Because you've already attained it and you've been doing all of this for me. And I've wasted your time doing all of this. Because what I should have been doing is learning from you. And Kardama Rishi says, you have to do this fast, which Bhagwan had already told him. And Bhagwan himself will come to you and he will teach it to you. And so she very diligently does the vratas, the fast. And when Bhagwan is born, he takes the form of the baby, but he goes to Kardama Rishi in his form. And says, you did everything I asked you for, but it was nothing that you wanted. So now, I give you what you want. You can go. Now this is the only story where Bhagwan has come and he wants to go. Every other story in the Bhagavatam, it will be like, give me bhakti, keep me close to you. But Kardama Rishi, no. Because holding on to form makes Bhagwan limited. And he is infinite. Also, holding on to wanting him and wanting to go to heaven, we're still stuck in this cycle. You see, Jay and Vijay were in heaven. And then they became asuras. You just come back here. If we keep this mind, and then Maya can play in this mind, then there's no end to it. There's always the chance of falling. That Kardama Rishi is wanting that where we never fall again. Now it's rare in the Bhagavatam to hear this story because most people aren't ready. Most people want comfort. Most people want to be taken care of. And that's why the Bhagavatam's so beautiful, because we want to be taken care of, and he shows us, Nama Bhakta Pranashyati. My devotee never perishes. Jay and Vijay were devotees. They perished. They became asuras. No, they didn't. They didn't perish. They came to earth. Bhagwan came with them. He didn't leave them. Here, go earth. They came, he came with. And Bhakta also came with. The Sanat Kumars also came with. They weren't left alone. Every step they took, they were still with him. The Sanat Kumars weren't abandoned. They still glorified today. Name Bhakta Pranashyati, the devotees are looked after. And this feeling of wanting to be looked after, when we nurture it enough, after a while, we don't need to be looked after. Then it can be, whatever you give me, I'll accept. And so from wherever we are, we start there. No, I'm miserable, look after me. He'll look after us. He promises to look after. But not so that we stay there. You can't just stay always wanting to be looked after. We have to grow. We have to grow to be whatever you give is okay. If you've given it, it's prasad. If you've given it, it's for my best. And then we grow to, I want you and only you. Nothing else. Like Kardama Rishi. And so Kardama Rishi leaves. Bhagwan is born to him and he leaves. No attachment to even that form. When Ramchandraji is born to Dashrath Maharaj got so attached. He couldn't bear for Ramchandraji to be in another room. And Kardama Rishi took no chance of getting attached. He left. And Mother Devahuti, when Kardama Rishi grows, learns from her own son. So we see this story play out, that also Bhagwan comes as a son, as a husband, as a father, as a friend. And even in Krishna avatar he comes as a son, even in Ram avatar he comes as a son. But here we see this guru relationship that he takes with Devahuti, because then she actually learns from him. And the essence of what she learns from him ties back to what we spoke about yesterday. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Right? But here a little bit different. The same essence. Right? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, all three of them, Dharma, Artha, Kama, all three of them meant to lead us to moksha. Here it's said in a little bit different way that dharma, karma, all our worship, all our sadhana, and all our knowledge, how to live, all these things are means for us to be able to turn back to Bhagavan. And that's everything we do, right? So all our actions, which is so much of our lives. To use our actions as a means to reach Him. So tying back to yesterday, how do we use our actions? To fulfill our desires. How are our actions meant to be used? As a means to reach Him. Even worship. Worship, you would think, of course, worship is to reach Him. But what does worship mean? What we give importance to, what we hold as higher, what we revere, what we bow down to. Not everyone is bowing down to Bhagavan. We bow down to money and power. We bow down to peer pressure. We bow down to somebody else screaming, shouting. And we bow down to our own desires. In the simplest thing of if I say give up tea or coffee, and then I can't. And you'll say it with such, like it's a fact. Like, I can't. Or detach from your children. Not possible. Why? We've given it so much importance. We're bowing down to that. What are we bowing down to? Our own desires, our own attachments. And then sometimes as a third party, I can really see these kids running circles around you. You may not be able to see it, but sometimes even you can see it. Yeah. And so, what's worship? This is higher and I bow down to it. Yeah. What's the highest? What's the, in Islam, they're not allowed to bow down to anyone but Allah. I'd met someone once, and then, in our Hindus we do pranams, and then he stood straighter. And he said, I will only bow to Allah. And I'm like, please. I don't need to bow to me. Yeah. Such a nice sentiment, isn't it? We should only bow to Bhagavan. I mean, we bow to everyone. Parents, Guru, Gomata, Tulsi plant. We should, but we bowing to Bhagavan only. We call Go Mata, right? And Matru Devo Bhava. Mother is God. Tulsi is also? We bow to earth also as? Because remember cosmic form. It's not that we're just bowing to everything, we also bowing only to Bhagavan. But then when we bow to our own desires, that's not Bhagavan. Important for us to know the difference. And in front of Vishwarup, cosmic form, we feel small. And so it's like automatic that we will bow. In front of 3-year-old kid, you feel small. Not meant to be. Like when parents tell me, I can't argue with my kid, they don't want to come for Balvihar. Yeah. How are you so weak? Of course, I cannot say that because then nobody will come. How? When it says here we should worship only Bhagwan, we feel, of course, we're worshipping Bhagwan only, but we don't realize worship is the amount of importance we give and the amount of reverence and effort that we put in to show that reverence. Yeah. And so, to keep reminding that bowing down and surrendering should be to His will. Only His will. And for us to have that attentiveness to know what is His will and what is our will. Remember, we started today with saying how to die, and he said, sit up straight, indicating this attentiveness. When thought comes in my mind, my will, His will. When Kashyapa Rishi realized that Diti was being insistent, and he closed his eyes, he said, His will. When Kardama Rishi said, I want to get married, he knew straight away, this is not my will. So it can only be, because his mind is so pure, he knew it could only be His will. See this attentiveness of the mind? How to live. My will, His will. And then after knowing, if you still choose your will, you can. Because He's given us that. Yeah. And then whatever consequence comes, like Parikshit Maharaj, say, thank you. Because I chose my will. So then I have to say, thank you, when consequences come. And even when I choose His will, when consequences come, I say, thank you. But I can be so graceful because I made choice and I was aware of it when I made the choice. So, Kardama Rishi teaches that in our dharma, in our karma, in our sadhana, and in our knowledge, let our knowledge lead us to Him. Every stream of knowledge leads us to Him. If you study biology and medicine, it's a wonder. It's going to lead you to His glories. If you study even math, there's that movie about which Rishi? Who is it? Recently, one of our Indian saints who was a mathematician. Ramanujaji. Yeah. From math. Realized Bhagwan from following math. Any knowledge, if you really go into it, it will lead you straight to Bhagwan because He is all knowledge, the source of all knowledge, and because just intelligence itself will lead you back to Him. And so all knowledge for Him. But He also teaches bhakti. Who? Kapil Muni. Even though He teaches primarily Advaita, He also teaches bhakti. And the way in which He teaches bhakti in the form of Advaita is that Bhagwan, we start with worshipping Bhagwan as a murti, but eventually we have to see Bhagwan as people. And so the worship has to be in the form of service. And then that's only one step up. Step higher is when we see Bhagwan as a murti, see the murti as a mirror. And so as you're worshipping, know you're worshipping that divinity which is your true nature. There's a lovely story that Guruji narrates in the Bhagavatam itself that Lokmanya Tilak was visiting a friend's house and the wife was home and told the son, go and do the puja, your father's not home, the puja has to be done today. And the son said, why should I do the puja? Lokmanya Tilak never does puja. And because, he was looked up to by all these little kids and the father's friend, and so of course everybody knows him. And he heard the kid say that. And so he calls the kid and he says, listen to your mother, go do puja. And the kid said the same thing to him as well. You don't do puja. And the mother's like, but Lokaya just doesn't, says no, he's right. And so he looks at the kid and he says, I do puja. And he says, I've never seen you do puja. And so he takes the kid by the hand and takes him to the roof of the building and shows him the street where all the people are walking. And he says, I do their puja. And when you can do their puja, then you can stop doing the puja of the murti. Till then you do the puja of the murti like your mother told you to. Yeah. And I'll end with one final story of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Paramahamsa ji used to worship Mother Kali. It is said that there was this phase that they went through where people used to judge anyone who's worshipping Mother Kali as tantric and, shun them. And so he used to actually worship her in secret, initially. And he would get so lost in the archana of doing the puja that he would hold the flower to his heart and drop it to Mother Kali's feet, and his eyes would be closed and tears would be streaming down his face, thinking of how incredibly compassionate and loving and beautiful she is. And so lost in the feeling of her he would be that he'd pick up the flower and he'd put it on himself. And people called him crazy. Because they didn't understand that he was so lost in her that there was no more him. There was only her. See that same essence that we worship in the murti in each other, and only then will we be able to see it in our own hearts. I invoke Shukdev Maharaj, Veda Vyasa, Deva Rishi Narachi, and all other great saints and sages that have kept this knowledge of the Bhagavatam alive. I invoke and surrender today's offerings and reflections to Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda, without whose grace my words would be just sound. I invoke Shri Krishna Bhagavan, who manifests himself as this wisdom to nurture, nourish, guide each one of us. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet, asato ma satkamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om